Alright. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'll start this video by saying that my camera is not working right now, so this video will be up without a face cam. So hopefully by my next video, which should be uploaded tomorrow, I can get it figured out. But I'm going to just go ahead and do this one with no face cam. So today's video, I'm going to be going through each division in the UFC and saying a fighter that I think is overrated and a fighter that's underrated. I was hoping to get this video out yesterday, but they took forever to update the rankings, so it's going to be coming out today. And also, I'd like to say thanks for all the support on the new channel. We started about 4 or 5 days ago, and I feel like we're already doing pretty decent so far. I've been making a lot of shorts content as well, so if you guys haven't seen those, go check them out. And if you're coming from the shorts content, I appreciate it a lot. I'm going to be uploading a lot more of shorts and just more videos in general. So let's get into this one. I'm going to start with the heavyweight, go up to from the biggest to the lowest classes. So heavyweight through flyweight, and then I'm going to do the bantamweight through the strawweight, and the women's as well. So if you are interested in only one of the weight classes, go ahead, skim through, like I say in all my videos, to the ones you want to see if I pick your favorite fighter in that division or whatever the case is. So, and I don't have a script for this. I'm just going on the fly. That's usually how I like to make my content anyways. Just kind of more of a talk, kind of more of a podcasty vibe, because that's like the kind of content I like. So that's like the content I like to make. So let's go ahead and start in this heavyweight division. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of good here, honestly. This is the worst division in the sport, in the male division of the sport, and I mean, if we're gonna pick an overrated guy in this division, I mean, there's a few names I could say, I guess. I do think Taliesin Teixeira is pretty, like, it's the thing is, like, he's not really overrated. It's just he's got a fight against Sergey Pavlovich coming up. He's overrated by the UFC. Like, this could mean multiple different things, but in my opinion, he's overrated. Like, he's 13th ranked, which is fine. I don't think he's very good. He barely beat Tai Tuivasa. Like, he not necessarily barely, but had a war with him. And Tai Tuivasa's horrible. I mean, obviously loses to Derek Lewis, who I don't rate very highly either. The only reason I'm not going to say Derek Lewis is I just feel like, I mean, he's kind of known to be a little overrated, but that's why I'm going to go with Taliesin Teixeira here, because he's got a fight with Sergey Pavlovich coming up, who is all the way up at number 3, and coming off a win over Waldo. So I don't know how he's getting this fight, and like Spivak's not, or, Kuniev's not, one of these guys. I mean, even Fortune, honestly, if you just want to shoot him up the division. I don't hate Taliesin Teixeira. I don't think he's all that, but I don't, and I do have him losing to Sergey Pavlovich, but I think he's overrated. And then if you're one of the more underrated guy in this division, you can go with a few. I'd really say that recently I've really liked Waldo Cortez Acosta. He's just, a former baseball player, switched to fighter. And not that I necessarily think that he's gonna win the title one day. Like, if Tom wasn't in this division and, like, Pereira comes in and, like, he's gone, like, I think Waldo could easily get the title someday. Not that he's, like, some super high class, heavyweight, whatever, but I think he's just underrated in the fact that he's about to fight Volkov. And I feel like a lot of people think that Volkov's gonna get the win. I think Waldo could get that win, and he's super active as well. That's why I think he's underrated as well. Not a lot of people talk about him. I feel like, has a fight against Derek Lewis and beats him, and it's a horrible fight, but it's not even really his fault. But yeah, I'd say Waldo is my underrated pick for the heavyweight division, or even Tom Aspinall. Like, if we're gonna go champions, if the champions are involved, Tom Aspinall is underrated at this point. Like, everyone knows what Tom Aspinall can do, but like his fight with Cyril Gahn, a lot of people really were kind of, saying, "Oh, Cyril Gahn got a round out of him." I was that same person, but still, I just feel like Tom kills all of these guys, and even Pereira, in my opinion. So that'll be it for heavyweight as we move up to light heavyweight. And an overrated guy in light heavyweight, as I'm looking through the list here, is they just updated it. I mean, so many guys moving around here. Paulo Costa jumps in at number 7 after his debut at light heavyweight. Overrated in my mind. You can't really go Azamat, and I wouldn't anyways. You know, you guys know I love Azamat. Pereira's still in these rankings. It's honestly tough. But I would go with Jan Blachowicz. And I know Jan Blachowicz, former champ, all that. All that's nice, you know, whatever. But Jan Blachowicz, you know, sitting at number 4, he's got a rematch coming up with Bogdan Guskov. And they had, you know, a draw on their first fight at the card that I actually went to in Vegas at 323. And, I mean, if he beats Bogdan Guskov, who is 6 ranks below him, I mean, and Guskov hasn't really, you know, he's not going to be the toughest out in the world. And they've already fought as well. But Jan Blachowicz is just a veteran at this point, too. But the reason why I'm saying he's overrated is because I've seen a lot of people throw his name around in an interim belt fight. Whereas I just feel like what are we doing? Like a Jan Blachowicz who's 43 years old fighting for the interim belt. I just don't think that makes a lot of sense. Like what? Like, and also like Jamal Hill just should not be number 6. But I'm with Jan Blachowicz. I don't think anyone really likes Jamal Hill, but I know Jan Blachowicz has a lot of fans. I don't necessarily not like Jan Blachowicz, and I think he could beat Bogdan Guskov. And if he beats him, like, yeah, like, he would be, like, one of the only light heavyweights on a decent streak. But, like, Magomed Ankalaev versus Paulo Costa is kind of the way I think it should go. And I hope that's the way it does go. I know it's not, you know, super entertaining fight, but after Paulo Costa's last fight, I don't understand how he's not in the conversation. And Ankalaev's the former champ who never got a chance to regain his belt. Obviously, he gets destroyed by Pereira, and that's why. But yeah. And then I would say an underrated guy. I'm gonna have to just roll with my guy here, Azamat. He takes a tough loss. He's older, yes, I know, but Azamat is just. I get, you know, he takes a loss to Paulo Costa, which is just fine. And that's the only reason why I'm putting him underrated, because a lot of people probably are thinking Azamat was overrated and he lost to Paulo Costa and this, that, and the fourth. But in my opinion, like, Azamat beats Jamal Hill. Azamat has a good fight with Khalil Roundtree, who I also think is quite a bit underrated. It was between these two. You know, I think he definitely has a good fight with Yuri. Jan Blachowicz, I think he beats Pereira. Obviously, like, he's not a light heavyweight anymore, but, like, obviously that Pereira would have beat him. And then Ankalaev, I think he has a good fight with. Oldberg, I think he has a decent fight with. So I think he's underrated in that sense. His title hopes are probably gone, and the UFC's probably happy about that. I get that. He's not the most marketable fighter. But, like, we're going to end up seeing Azamat versus fucking Johnny Walker, or the winner of Alonzo Menifield and Ming Yang in China. Like, we're going to see him in one of those types of fights in, like, in the Meta Apex. So it's like, what are we, like, I just hope that we don't necessarily get those type of fights. He should be fighting, like, Bogdan Guskov, or, you know, a Dominic Reyes. Like, even if, you know, like, these two should really be fighting, in my opinion. Or even, fuck it, like, throw him up the rankings against a Jamal Hill, even though he's coming off of a loss. I don't know. Just something like that. I think he's underrated at this point, especially after 327 and this loss. And then you move over to middleweight. Overrated fighter in middleweight. It's kind of, let me see here. Overrated. Honestly, I personally think Sean Strickland. I'm gonna go Sean Strickland here. This might ruffle some feathers. I know he's got a pretty decent fan base. He beats Fluffy, which is a really great win. He has wins over, you know, a lot of these top 15 guys. And I'm not even necessarily counting him out against Chimaev. It's just, out of this top 15, I think he's just the most overrated. Like people genuinely have him like think he's the kryptonite to Chimaev. I wouldn't necessarily say that, and he could still beat him, but it's just I don't think he should be the one getting the title shot. I get he has a win over Imavov, but it was at light heavyweight, short notice. I know Sean Strickland was the guy who came in last minute, but still, like, I could have went DDP here just because I don't really think he should be near the title. But like, I don't know. I think Imavov should be fighting for the title, even though I know he's not a big name and it's not a big draw. But that's just my opinion, man. Sean Strickland's cool. I hope he doesn't beat Chimaev, obviously. Like, Chimaev is someone I like pretty well. And, um, but yeah, I'd go Sean Strickland there. And then underrated, I don't know if he's necessarily underrated at this point anymore, but in my opinion, I think Caio Borralho is pretty underrated. So he takes the loss to Imavov, who was number two at the time he fought him, still number two, and then beats RDR, which that's a good win. I mean, RDR obviously coming off the loss to Brendan Allen, but I think Caio Borralho is just underrated to the point to where I feel like he's gonna be in this top five for a long time, and I feel like a lot of people don't like him or dislike him for whatever reason. I think it's just because he's a fighting nerd and he did get a lot of hype, but I mean honestly, I feel like after the RDR fight, some hype is coming back, but I feel like I never see or hear anyone talking about this guy, and he's one of my favorite fighters, especially definitely in this middleweight division, probably my favorite. So I just throw Kyle Braulio out there. And then for the welterweights, if we're thinking overrated, I mean, honestly, dude, there's a bunch of different places we can go here. I don't like Ian Gary, but like what I say he's overrated. I feel like a lot of people rate him pretty well. Um, but I mean, I'd probably go with like a with Gilbert Burns. Like no one really rates him. It's kind of tough to pick one here. I'd maybe lean towards an Usman. I think the only reason why I'm gonna say Usman at this point is he beat Buckley, but other than that, was on a losing streak before that, and then people were talking about him for the title, and then he gets offered DDP and turns it down. So it's like, why are we giving Usman DDP? Why is he in title talks for the title with Islam? That screams overrated to me. I get he's like a legend of the welterweight division, but that's not like I don't think Kamaru Usman at this point of his career adds that much to Islam's resume. Yes, it adds a name to it, but it doesn't add like the same that him beating Ian Gary right now would, or Michael Morales off of another win, or like if Carlos Prates beats JDM. So I would say I would bring his name up for sure. And then underrated, like I don't want to just, you know, pick the top guy here, but like JDM, man, he's so underrated at this point. Gets destroyed by Islam, but Islam is a one of one fighter, probably one of the goats of the sport, and we're writing JDM off like he's just some scrub. Like he's going, in my opinion, he's going to beat Carlos Prates. He should never step in the octagon again with Islam, I'll say that. But I don't think Islam has a ton more fights, so if JDM can beat Carlos Prates and then maybe get a win over a guy like Morales, or if Gary like fights Islam and loses, or even like one of these guys maybe moving up like Gabriel Bonfim might beat Bilal, and then maybe JDM can fight Bonfim, someone like that. But I definitely say that JDM's super underrated at this point. I feel like a lot of people think Carlos Prates is gonna knock him out just because that's what Carlos Prates does. But people forget, man, like Ian Gary just kind of, you know, held Prates down for a lot of their fight, and beat him pretty convincingly. And JDM is the type of fighter to where I feel like he could really go blow for blow with Prates. He's a good boxer, and I think he's just overall a solid fighter. And no one's really giving him respect anymore after that loss. And then we'll move over to the lightweight division. Where overrated, there's definitely a few places we can go here. Um, I think like the fact that Michael Chandler is still getting top 10 fights is ridiculous, but like I wouldn't say he's overrated. But it's hard to say this. But Patty Pimlet, I feel like isn't really that overrated. I'd have to go with Max here. I think either Max or BSD. But I think I'm gonna lean. Because I do love both of these fighters. As of right now, though, I'm gonna lean BSD because I just love Max a little bit more. BSD to me is just pretty overrated right now. I love BSD. I want him to continue this run, but people have BSD like, um, oh, his next fight's gonna be against Armin. His next fight's gonna be against Charles. Like, and I get that. He has to move up the rankings somehow, but like these are just not talks BSD should be into. Like he beats Dariush quick as fuck, but who doesn't? And then he moves up and fights Dan Hooker and kills Dan Hooker, but like who doesn't do that either? And so now he's number 5. Like I don't know, this lightweight division's a little weird. Like I think Gamrot should be number 5. BSD should still be over Patty, but like it definitely should be just different, this division. I almost even want to say Mauricio Rufy, just because he lost to BSD just recently, but then he just had a good win over Fiziev. But like if you put Rufy in there against like a Gamrot, like Gamrot's gonna smudge him just like BSD did. Patty's going to take him to the ground and submit him um, just like BSD did. Same shit with Charles and Armin, and then like, but I don't think like we'll talk. He's fighting down in the rankings. Like he can't be that overrated, right? But yeah, so I'd say BSD overrated, underrated here. I mean, it's definitely you've got some choices. I'd personally say underrated fighter. I know he's pretty far down the rankings, but give me Manuel Torres. This guy Manuel Torres is an absolute killer. I mean, he he beats majority of this up until like the top 5, and then you're having talks, but he's just a killer. I mean, I feel like people are kind of a little scared to fight him as well. He was supposed to fight Dariush, but then he had got injured or something. But like Torres is nice, man. He's a nice, and he's gonna be good in this division for a long time, I feel like. So that's why I'd say he's pretty underrated, and that's just another guy no one really talks about. So we move up to featherweight here. Um, Underrated, overrated guys in featherweight. I'd have to say, as much as I love me um, some Diego Lopez, I'd have to say he's overrated, man, because he's not like all that great, and obviously him getting fed title shots is why a lot of people dislike him. But I mean, like, he fights all the way down at like 11 and beats Gene Silva, then gets another title shot, and then now he's gonna fight all the way down to 9 against Steve Garcia in another like favorable matchup, um, a more favorable matchup than Gene Silva I feel like was, and then he'll maybe fight someone else, and then probably get another title shot if Polk's out of there. Um, I love me some Diego Lopez, but I just think he's overrated. He's just not. He doesn't scream champion to me. Like I don't think he's good enough to be up where he's at, especially fighting for the belt multiple times. Um, but yeah, so I'd have to say Diego Lopez, most overrated fighter in the featherweight division, and then underrated. If you guys had seen any of my shorts content, you'll know that I'm gonna go with Mel Costa here. Sorry for that stutter, but Costa's literally one of my favorite fighters, the Dalmatian. He super underrated. I don't really see anyone talking about this guy. The way he slimed out Dan Ige, I mean, he's just beating these dudes, climbing up the rankings. He's got a main event coming up with Arnold Allen, which is going to be an absolute banger. And I talked about that a little bit in one of the most recent shorts I posted. He's an absolute dog, and I could honestly see him moving up these rankings, having future great fights with like a Gene Silva, Yusuf Salah, And he could honestly lose to Arnold Allen, but that's not even necessarily a bad loss. It's just I think he's underrated, man, and I could see him being in the top 10 for a while. As we move on to the bantamweight division, overrated Raul Rojas Jr. automatically. I don't even have to look at this list. Raul Rojas Jr. is just not good to me. He is just a straight up lay and pray. Doesn't even try to do damage. Doesn't even try for submissions. He's just such a boring fighter, and he's just if he fights like any of these guys that know how, that can like have decent wrestling takedown defense, it's over for him. I mean, he's literally going to lose automatically. He has no stand up really, no real ground game either. He can take people to the ground, but he's not finishing them there. Um, and I'm not just talking about his first fights in the UFC where he's fighting like lower, ranked guys. Like no, he fought Rob Font, who was a ranked fighter, and he just laid on him. Like Rob Font is not that all that good. You don't have to necessarily be worried about him putting you out. But yeah, I'd say Raul Rojas Jr. And then underrated, you can go a bunch of different ways here. You could honestly go a bunch of different ways. You can go like a Sanhagen. You could even go a Song Yadong. You could even go Mario Bautista. But I'm gonna go with David Martinez. He's on a decent win streak in the rankings. Takes that Rob Font fight on short notice and beats Cheeto Vera. And David Martinez, I feel like everything I see about him is really hate for some reason. It's so weird. I just feel like he's so underrated. He's young and he comes from a good background and he's a likable guy and there's so many things that I like about David Martinez, man. And I feel like his next fight, he can fight like a Sahabi after Sean O'Malley fight if Sahabi loses, or if Song Yadong somehow loses to Figgy, maybe fight him, or you can match him up with Mario Bautista. Those are both two guys that I rate pretty well. Um, like he's just super underrated, man. I feel like I see nothing but hate for him. And then as we're onto the flyweights here, another division where you can go a bunch of different ways. Overrated fighter though, I would think I would have to probably lean towards. Honestly, I'm not the biggest, and you could say Joshua Van, like you could, and a part of me wants to say Brandon Moreno, but if I'm not gonna go Brandon Moreno coming off of multiple losses, so I'm gonna go with Manel Kape. Like Manel Kape to me, I think he just loses to these three. To the even I mean I have Horiguchi beating him, but like I think Manel Kape can beat Horiguchi. I love Horiguchi, um, but I just think Manel Kape's a little overrated. I don't really see him as a champion. I know he's on a really good run right now, and maybe with his fighting to Horiguchi, it'll change my mind, and I wouldn't be completely shocked if he did, and I want him to. Like that's the type of stuff I like to see. Is whenever I'm calling these guys overrated, hey, I'd love if Diego Lopez turned into an actual true contender on a streak and actually goes and wins the belt, and I'd love if Raul Rojas Jr. actually like learned how to fight and wasn't just a straight lay and pray fighter and someday won the belt. Like that would be great. But I'm just gonna say Cobb for now, just because there's not a whole lot to go here. Because if I go like Roy Ball, he's coming off of multiple losses. If I go Brandon Moreno, he's coming off of multiple losses. Like how highly ranked really is he? How highly rated really is he? And then underrated. Honestly, like I feel like you can go a bunch of different places here. I mean, you can go like even a Tyra or even a Van. I mean, Van is definitely underrated. He's a dog against Tyra. But I'm going to go Loney Kavanaugh. Loney Kavanaugh, coming off of a great win over Brandon Moreno, just outclassed him, really. And I feel like it's not really getting rated super highly, in my opinion. I think he needs to be talked about more. I mean, you got to think, he probably fights Brandon Royval next, if I had to guess. And if he beats Royval, and then maybe he beats, like, the loser of Kopp and Horiguchi, or Tyra and Van, like, this is a real contender in the flyweight division. He's already number 6 and he's super young. So, no need of really trying to push him super, super high yet. But, if he can, he could even fight like Amir Albazi or Asu Almabayev. Like, he could fight one of these guys because there's no real point in trying to push him to the moon yet. But I think Brandon Royval would be a good matchup just because they're both, you know, probably been off for about around the same time, and Royval did get knocked out in his last fight, but Loney Kavanaugh didn't take a ton of damage, so they're probably both on the same timeline. But I'd say he's underrated, honestly. And then as we move on to the women's divisions here, I'm not going to have as good of analysis for a lot of these women's fighters, but I would say overrated. I'd go Macy Chiasson. Just overrated as fuck. Like should, and a lot of these women are tough too because I just feel like there's such a gap between like the top women and like the bottom women. Like Macy Chiasson just should not be ranked, in my opinion. Like, but either should a majority of these. And then I'd say underrated is Jocelyn Edwards. She has a fight coming up. I think not this weekend, but next weekend, and it's against Norma Dumont, which I think she's underrated in the sense of women's MMA. Like, yeah, she's getting jumped up the rankings to fight Dumont, who's on like a big win streak. Honestly, should be in more title talks than she is. But you know, like with Kayla Harrison's injury and all that, like, you know, there's no real. She's got to fight somebody. But Jocelyn Edwards, man, super underrated, I feel like. And then we move on to the women's flyweight. Honestly, overrated women's flyweight. I'd have to maybe give it to. Like, I'm kind of leaning either Tracy Cortez or a Rose Namajunas. Two people that are just fan loved that are just not all that good. I'm probably gonna give it to Tracy Cortez. I just think she's not all that good, honestly. I really just don't think she's very good. And then underrated, honestly, give me Casey O'Neill, coming off of a win recently, and I just feel like she's underrated, man. She could really move up this flyweight division for sure. And then overrated for the strawweights, give me Amanda Lemos. I absolutely hate watching Amanda Lemos fight. It just really feels like she's not even in it anymore, you know. And then underrated, honestly, Berna Jandiroba. Honestly, I'd say she's underrated. She's coming off of a win, and I just feel like I really feel like she beat Dern. I don't know why. When I watched that fight, I really thought she beat Dern, but I think she beats her if they fight again. You know what I mean? And I know she's older, but I just feel like she's underrated. Like, not the most fun fighter in the world, but you know, we're talking about WMMA here, so you know, there's not gonna be a ton of them. But yeah, I'd say Jandiroba. But anyways, that'll be the end of this video. Once again, I'm sorry about the face cam not working. I don't know what's going on with the camera. Hopefully I can figure it out before tomorrow's video. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to be dropping some new shorts probably. If you're watching this from those, thank you very much. And that'll be it. And if you have any more ideas, leave them in the comments and anything you want me to do. And make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe as we're still trying to grow. Less than a week into this channel. So, and I appreciate all the support so far. And I will continue to upload and upload and upload. And thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.